What's going on, everybody? It's me, it's your boy Doc, and today I got another guide, this time for Balance Druid. Now, out of the 3 challenges I've completed so far this week, I would say Balance Druid was probably the easiest one as soon as I figured out how to do it. It can seem a little hectic, there's a lot of ads up, but really, if you kind of just learn your cooldown timings and when to interrupt and when to Starfall versus Star Surge, it makes things a lot easier. And I'll share all those tips and tricks with you here in a little bit when we go over the actual video. But for right now, we'll start with what talents I used. Alright, so talents I used for this fight, I went with Nature's Balance in the first row. You don't want to use Force of Nature, and the reason you want to use Force of Nature is because you want as much astral power generation as possible, because you need to be able to Starfall, like, almost on cooldown for this whole fight. So you definitely want to go with Nature's Balance on this one. I went with Wild Charge, just because when you get the disengage, it really helps create some space between you and the boss. And the ads and everything else that's trying to kill you. So Wild Charge is definitely the default talent you want to pick here. I don't see any plausible arguments for taking Tiger Dash or Renewal for this fight at all. For the third row, you want to go with Resto Affinity. Ursul's Vortex is an absolute mandatory ability for this fight. Like, there's no argument to be made for Feral or Guardian Affinity. You absolutely want Resto Affinity for this. The fourth row, you want Mass Entanglement. Again, it helps a lot with ad management. A lot of this fight is just ad management. So these are all just strictly for ad management. For this row, I went with Incarn, just because you want a lot of burst damage for the boss. And Incarn is the best way to achieve that. For this one, you want Stellar Drift. Absolutely 100% you need that. You need to be able to cast while moving. It will make this fight significantly easier. Granted, I haven't tried doing it with Twin Moons or Stellar Flare, and I never will. And you shouldn't either. For the last row, you want to go with Fury of Elune. Again, burst damage, really good at killing the ads, as well as the boss. Really, you're using it on the boss, but you want it to cleave onto the ads while you're doing it too. Anyways, that's it for talents. We'll go and look at my gear. So gear I used for this fight, I use a Haste Verse headpiece, just because it had speed on it, and I wanted like to be able to move quicker in boomy form without having to shapeshift. Because if I shapeshift, I'm not able to spam every global of damage into the bosses, so yeah. I try to avoid shape-shifting as much as possible in this fight, as you'll see. For my neck, I went with the Prydaz just because it has 3 secondary stats, and it has a gem socket in it, which I put Intellect. You're going to want to put as much Intellect as possible. Then after that, you're going to want Mastery. I also enchanted that with Mark of the Hidden Satyr. For my shoulders, I went with the first Satyr Spolders. You don't necessarily have to farm this stuff. You know, the gear isn't mandatory, it just helps. I got lucky that I actually had this from farming it years ago. So, again, it has 3 secondary stats, so I went with that. For the cape, I went with whatever the hell that says from BFA, and then I enchanted that with minor speed increase, because again, I need to be able to move quick. For chest, I just went with my normal Shadowlands chest, and then I enchanted that with primary stats. For wrists, I went with my benthic wrist that I just never got rid of because it has the socket, which I put Intellect into it, and I also enchanted plus 15 Intellect on that. I forget what the actual enchant's called, but you'll see it on the auction house. It's the only one it's the only one you're gonna want. For hands, again, I went with benthic gear just because it has a socket. For waist, I went with benthic gear because it has a socket. For my legs, I just went with normal Shadowlands legs. For feet, as I said earlier, benthic gear because it has a socket, enchanted with Intellect. For my rings, I went with just my normal Shadowland rings because it has a socket. And I went with the Primordial Arcanic Pulsar ring that I had left over from Season 1 because it has the socket. For trinkets, I went with the Inscrutable Quantum device because when I use that, it gives me extra haste, which lets me spam more spells into the boss. And then I went with a Titanic Ocular Gland. I don't know what like the best in slot trinkets would be, but again, a lot of this fight's really easy once you learn how to do it. The gear helps, but it's not going to make or break everything. So, trinkets, like, it's not that important, but I would definitely recommend something that gives you haste, which that does. And for my weapons, I use Shadow Core Oil on as an as a consumable. And I just went with my standard Shadowlands, weapons. Alright, so that's my gear. As far as consumables go, I used Greater Flask of Endless Fathoms. At the moment, the BFA flasks are still better than the Shadowlands ones, so I went with that. I use Mastery Food, which is called... where is it? Iridescent Ravioli with applesauce. I don't think I used a Veiled Augment rune for this fight, but you can use those too if you're really trying to min-max. Heavy Desolate Armor Kit, I may have used, I don't remember, but honestly it wouldn't make much of a difference because if you get hit, you're going to get one shot anyways, except if it's by the little ads, but you shouldn't be near them at any point. This macro is really important. So... sorry about that. I created a macro that would lust and use Potion of Unbridled Fury whenever I got to this third phase. And I was confident that I had a shot at the kill, so I would just lust there. I hit that macro and that helped me out a bit. That's enough about my gear and consumables. Let's go review the actual fight and I'll show you the strats I used, what was most effective, and what worked best for me. So here we go. Alright, so the first thing I did that helped me out a lot, and you'll see it right here, let me pause the video. I put a skull marker on the main boss and a square marker on his brother. Now, this is really important in my opinion, because with all the ads they spawn, like it's hard to kind of keep track of their nameplates, so with the skull and the square on it, it helped me identify them a lot easier among all the other ads. If you don't have like some sort of plate add-on, I would highly advise you get one. I use Plater for this fight. I have an add-ons video that goes over that I made many months ago, so if you guys want to go look at that, you can just go look at my past videos. But yeah, definitely use some sort of Plater add-on, and definitely mark the bosses. Here I'm getting my food buff. Also want to note, I start over here by this rock, and the reason I start over here is because you can kind of bait the boss around it very easily. It is very easy to kind of kite him around that. Now how I start the fight is very important. Alright. Once you see the main boss saying, kill this interloper brother, you position your vortex right in front of him. You throw up a Sunfire, a Moonfire. You Fury of Elune ASAP. Alright. So it's going to go in this order. You drop your vortex right in front of him. Sunfire, Moonfire, and then you Fury of Elune. The reason you Fury of Elune right away is so that it'll come up like as soon as the boss phases and you're actually able to damage the real boss. Then you throw up a Starfall so you can cast while moving. And again, you're going to try to bait him around this rock here. This rock is really easy sauce for baiting the boss around. And now that I got Starfall, I can cast while moving, and I just bait him around it. We're baiting. See, look at this. You see how easy that is? This is so easy. I'm casting while moving. I'm eclipsing. I'm solar wrathing. He's already at 46%. So now, when he gets 3 stacks, I usually kind of move him away from the rock and try to bait him somewhere where I'll be able to throw my dots up right away when he becomes attackable again. But he's not going to be a nuisance immediately. So here I Starfall so I can cast while moving. Very important to note, and I made a mistake there. Hold on, we'll go back just a second. You never want to click on the little ads. The only things you should ever be targeting in this fight are the hands, the main boss, and his brother. That is it. Never target the little ads. They will passively die to your Starfall and your Sunfire Cleave Dot. Alright, so here I immediately throw up Sunfire, Moonfire. I drop a Vortex. Now, you want the boss to be in between you and the ads that spawn. And the reason for that is you'll cleave them down while destroying the boss. Watch. So I throw a Vortex down. I put it on the boss so they're kind of grouped up on him. And as soon as Fury of Elune comes up, I cast it. And that's just cleaving down everything. I got my Starfall doing its damage, and I'm just spamming single target into the boss. I can move while casting because I Starfalled, which is good. That means I don't have to waste a global on CCing the ads. I can just instead just funnel all that damage right into the boss, which is what you want to do. Ideally, you would get like around 68 to 70% health before he phases, but if you're at 75, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so the next boss is up. He's phased. I Sunfire, Moonfire, get my dots up ASAP. I Starfall so I can cast while moving. So as soon as this first hand comes up, you're going to want to interrupt it ASAP. Like as soon as it comes up, you interrupt it. You won't be able to interrupt the next hand, but your interrupt should come up like almost as soon as the hand after that comes up if you interrupt right away. If not, it might be a couple seconds. But you want to interrupt these hands as soon as you can. That said, you throw a couple Solar Wraths into it. You don't want to focus too hard on that hand. You just throw up your dots and keep your Starfall up and let them do their work. You should never be Star Surging into those hands if you're able to interrupt them. The ones you can't interrupt, I would maybe throw a Star Surge or 2 into, but really, you want to be spending your Astral Power on Starfall. So here, another important thing to note. Fury of Elune. You want to save Fury of Elune for that second hand that comes up. And the reason you want that is because that extra burst damage will help nuke it down quick. So you don't have to worry about using AP on Star Surges. You almost always want to be using AP on Starfall. Just so you can keep casting while moving. Unless you're about to overcap, I wouldn't use Star Surges. Just keep Starfalling. So I got my dots up, Fury of Elune, and then I switch back to the brother ad, Karam, or whatever the hell his name is. So if you're really good, you're not going to get a third hand here. I Star Surge there just to kind of push him so I don't get a third hand. There we go. And I want to make sure, like, by the time this boss becomes attackable again, that I have enough AP to where I can Starfall right away. I got my Vortex down so I can cleave everything on top of the boss. I'm not able to Starfall yet. I'm about to overcap my resources. I Starfall and then I Star Surge, I thought. Or not, I guess. I don't know. But you always want to have enough AP so you can Starfall, because especially in this phase, he starts summoning the Ritual of Summoning, or the little summoning circles. You always want to have Starfall for that, because you got to be able to move. Also, in this phase, I would highly recommend you just save all your crowd control effects for when the summoning circles come out. You don't need to root the boss, you don't need to vortex him, and you don't need to typhoon them unless the circle's out and they're getting close. That's the only time you should be using any of your crowd control effects. Okay, so his brother became attackable again. At this point, And something I didn't know for many tries, if you kill Karam, the brother who's chasing you around, the main boss enrages. So DPSing Karam is not important at all. You can throw some dots on him if you want for extra AP, I guess, but it's not that important. At this point, the only targets you should be focusing are the main boss and the hands when they spawn. So here I make a big mistake. I accidentally interrupt the boss when I meant to interrupt the hands. So that sucks. I have to just throw as much damage in the hands as possible, so I'm gonna have to Fury of Elune that, which sucks. Ideally, I wouldn't have to do that, but whatever. I also have to Star Surge it. That was sloppy, but it's whatever. So this is what I'm talking about. I got Typhoon ready because I saved it because I'm not worrying about CCing them outside of when the summoning circle comes up. So Incarn's coming up. You kind of want to save Incarn for when this next hand comes up because it'll help you burst it down. Like, look, it's already gone. That hand was up for like 3 seconds. Not even. Unfortunately, I let my Moonfire dot fall off. You don't want to do that. I got enough AP so I can Starfall again, and here I'm just spamming single target into the boss. I use Bull Rush to get over here quick because I'm a High Mountain Tauren. Very useful ability in a tight spot like that. I love Bull Rush. It's helped me so many times. Alright, Fury of Elune came back, so now I'm just trying to spam damage into the boss. At this point, I've already lusted. I got my Potion of Unbridled Fury going. I'm just putting as much damage into the boss as possible. He's at 10% health. He's about to summon another circle. I don't give a fuck about the circle. Fuck it. The boss is at 3% health. It's going to take a little bit for the nightmare to spawn and start running to me. And that is how you kill the boss. All in all, this was probably the easiest boss I've done so far. I think this challenge is probably harder on Shadow Priests. But on Boomy, it's... I mean, some of you might be having a hard time with this boss, which is probably why you found this guide. It's not that hard once you kind of like understand the rhythm of the fight. So don't be wasting AP on Star Surges unless you have enough AP for a Starfall. Always have enough AP for a Starfall. In that last phase, only use crowd control effects when the circles come out. Keep your dots up. Keep your interrupts available for every other hand. And this fight should be much easier to accomplish. But anyways, everyone, that's my guide on how to do the Balanced Druid Mage Tower Challenge. Those little tips I learned helped me a lot, so hopefully they help you. If they do, let me know in the comments. Good luck. I hope you guys get this. Mage Tower is probably the most fun I've had in WoW in a while, so I'm trying to get all the challenges down. Yeah. If you have any questions or concerns, just leave them in the comments section below, or you can follow me on Twitch. I stream pretty regularly. Usually we give away free plus 15 carries. We raffle them off almost every day. This week, I'm focusing strictly on Mage Tower, but we will return to that soon. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Good luck with your Mage Towers. Have fun. Stay safe. Be well, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out, y'all.